Okay guys, so we're gonna run through this really quick, but I was just wondering what your happies and crappies are. So when we learn your crappy, then we can pray for you, or you'll have people to pray for you, hopefully, if they're cool like that. Okay, anyway. Okay, who wants to start a happy and crappies? Anybody?
Just give us one good thing and one thing you're worried about. Yeah.
I got one.
Okay, yep.
Okay, I'm gonna say crappy first.
Okay.
I have a lot of homework to do right now. I guess that's probably gonna be everybody's, but I'm kind of stressed, or very stressed. Good is my sister's getting engaged this weekend. Hopefully, he's gonna propose. We're having parties.
Oh. That's happy. Not everyone has to.
Crappy.
Okay, there you go.
I have a crappy. My son got a ticket from the police here in town because the tags on his brother's car he borrowed were not, didn't have the right sticker. Happy? I went down to the tag office and the sticker that he has on there is perfectly fine. It's good till August and nobody's stolen it, so the policeman was just messing with him. But I've still got to go to court and challenge the $200 cost of this thing.
You still got to pay court costs?
I doubt it. If I can show them, I got pictures of the license tag and pictures of and I've got a proof of insurance and all that, and proof of the tag sticker, and I don't see how they can charge me for that if the policeman was totally in the wrong. So unless there's something I'm missing, it was just a way to hassle an 18-year-old. They were probably doing something else, who knows, but
I think they needed their quota or something.
I don't know. They were probably doing something he couldn't figure out any way else to get them.
Yeah.
Skateboarders.
Okay.
Anybody else have something they want to share?
Graduating holla.
No.
Holla, holla. That's true. All right. Well, I think we're going to start with Shelby today.
Okay, so our group did rational therapy, and rational therapy asserts the unwanted emotions and dysfunction behaviors are primarily determined by our thought processes rather than our external events. Albert Ellis was the founder of rational therapy, practiced psychoanalytic approaches to therapy during the late 1940s and late 1950s, or early 1950s. Ellis developed a new approach to rational therapy, and it was also called rational emotive therapy, which he treated his clients by challenging and changing their irrational beliefs. This approach has potential to enable those who become skillful and rational analyzing their self-talk to control or get rid of their undesirable emotions and dysfunctional behaviors. So the theory of rational therapy is most people believe that our emotions and our actions primarily are determined by our experiences. These are like events that happen to us. And rational therapy has demonstrated that the primary cause of all of our emotions and actions is what we tell ourselves about the event and like what's about to happen. The most important point about this process is that our self-talk determines the way we feel and act. By changing our self-talk, we can change the way we feel and act. And I know for myself, and probably a lot of you athletes, that if you go to practice with a bad attitude, everything's going to go wrong. Practice won't go well. But if you have, positive attitude, practice will go well. You'll increase your skill level. You'll learn a bunch of new things. Generally, we can't control events that happen to us, but we have the power to think rationally and being able to change all of our unwanted emotions and effective actions. Self-talk. The self-talk we give ourselves about specific events that happens to us is often based on a variety of factors, including beliefs, attitude, values, wants, motives, goals, and desires. And I'm going to turn it over to Courtney to go into more detail.
Okay. So my part was changing unwanted emotions. The rational therapy is being used to change unwanted emotions. And the rational therapy asserts that all emotions are primarily determined by self-talk. And so there are 5 ways that we can change unwanted emotions. 3 of them are constructive and 2 of them are destructive, and we'll get into those. So the first one is meaningful activity. Everyone encounters day-to-day frustrations and irritations, such as having like a class or 2 that aren't going well, trying to get your grades up, or having to go to a job we don't like and you just have to put up with it. But dwelling on these irritations can cause unwanted emotions such as being depressed, having anger issues, being frustrated, or feeling like you're failing. But a meaningful and enjoyable activity, however, produces satisfaction and a helpful distraction from these unwanted emotions. And some people can write an escape list, which is you find activities that are meaningful in your life, that are energizing and enjoyable, such as like going on walks, talking with friends, or like watching a movie. And doing this escape list helps you take your mind off of these day-to-day concerns and brings the positive emotions back into your life. And just for like a personal example, for me, my escape list would be to go somewhere quiet and just listen to music to get your mind off everything. And so the second one, changing self-talk. These are changing unwanted emotions is to identify and alter the negative and irrational thinking that leads to them. This rational self-analysis is a 6-step process to challenge and change irrational thinking. And so in part A, these are where your facts and events happen. And this is where you can state the facts that occurred and the facts and events that occurred. And then in part B, this is where the self-talk comes in. And this is where you write down all your thoughts that about the events in part A that you thought, and you can determine whether the emotion was good or bad or neutral. And it just shows yourself how they believe each part in part B reflects themselves as individuals. And then in part C is the emotional consequences. This is where you just simply write down statements describing your gut reactions or emotions stemming from the self-talk in part B. And then in part DA is the camera check. And this is where if you had taken a moving picture from what was happening, what would the camera verify? And the moving picture would probably only record the facts of what happened and not the personal belief or opinion that you had on it. So an example of this would be, I would say, Karen made me look like a fool when she laughed at me while I was trying to make a serious point. But in reality, the camera would only grab the facts, which would be, I was attempting to make a serious point when Karen began laughing at what I was saying. And so, and then part DB, this determines whether the self-talk statements in part B are rational or not. And this is where the member of the self-talk just writes down whether it is rational or irrational. And if the statement is irrational, this is where the facts don't fit, or the endangers one's life, or keeps them from achieving the short-term and long-term goals in your career. And then in part E, this is the emotional goals and behavior goals for future similar events. And this part can contain a description of specific actions they intend to take to help them achieve their emotional goals when they encounter future events. And so the third one is just changing the distressing event. Constructive action can be taken to change the distressing event, such as a man losing his job. It's a very distressing event, but he can change it by going out and finding a new job, and he will feel better about that. And then not all distressing events can be changed though. For example, if a woman has to have a job that she absolutely needs to take care of her kids, she has to possibly put up with people that she doesn't like, but you can adapt to the environment to make it better, to make the circumstances better. And and then the 2 destructive ways of dealing with unwanted emotions. One method is the temporary relief, such as emotions or intense unwanted emotions through the use of alcohol or other drugs or food. With drugs, the effects of them wear off and the person's problems and unwanted emotions are remaining, and there is danger that through repeated use can lead to an addiction. And then some people overeat to suppress loneliness, insecurity, and boredom. And this process of eating and feeling full only is a temporary relief and intense unwanted emotions. And these people are possible to become overweight, bulimic, or both. And then the other destructive way to relieve unwanted emotions is suicide. And this is the ultimate destructive approach to dealing with unwanted emotions because they feel like there's no way to escape. And if you do know someone who is contemplating suicide, you have the legal right or legal and ethical obligation to seek to connect the person with professional help, even if the suicidal person requests that you don't have anyone help them. So now I'm going to turn it over to Hillary.
Okay, I'm going to talk about assessing and changing dysfunctional behavior. Self-talk can lead to dysfunctional behavior because basically you can talk yourself into anything, especially based on emotions and how you feel. Self-talk can be detrimental of our emotions and our behaviors. A diagram here of how it works is an event happens, you have your self-talk or the way you're thinking, which leads to emotions, which leads to the behavior. And the behavior is determined by your self-talk. So say you're at the mall, you see earrings or a pair of jeans you want, but you don't have the money for them. Your self-talk might be, I really need to have those. It won't hurt anybody if I just slip them into my bag or walk out the store with them, because I'm not actually hurting anybody and I get what I want. So that leads to shoplifting or taking the item. And so that would be a dysfunctional behavior in reaction to how you are thinking or processing a situation. To change dysfunctional behavior, there are 2 steps that need to be taken when assessing the client, and they are number 1 is to identify unwanted emotions or behaviors the client has. So you might sit down, ask them how they're feeling when the event happened, what they were thinking about. And the second one is to identify thinking patterns the client has during the times by asking questions or obtaining information about the client's life at that time. So if you ask your client what happened, how they were feeling, but they don't want to answer, you might just ask, well, what was your situation like at that time in your life? Kind of explain to me what happened. And I know the book gives an example of this as the reason for a runaway girl maybe entering the world of prostitution is because she felt like she had no other choice in her life. It was the events in her life that caused the dysfunctional behavior. And so to change unwanted emotions or dysfunctional behavior, it's necessary to change those thinking patterns. So if we go back to the shoplifter, instead of thinking it won't hurt anybody if I just take this, they might change their thinking pattern to, I want that, I will come back when I have the money to buy that. It's all in the way we perceive things in our self-talk. And that's all I have, so I'm going to turn it over to Lauren.
Hi guys, so I'm going to be talking about rational therapy and the causes of psychological changes via, psychotherapy. So basically what this is talking about is that, we in therapy, they would say, in rational therapy, they would, tell us, what do you usually negatively think about? Like, what do you negatively, tell yourself during situations? Like, say, today, I had too much coffee. So, that's my usual problem. But in like chapel today, I couldn't even stand up because I was so shaky. And so I was negatively like telling myself, Lauren, you need to just chill out. You need to like, you know, you look really weird right now. You're probably like shaking and everybody can tell. And, you know, I couldn't, and like I get really stressed out singing in front of people. And so, you know, all that negativity was getting to me. And so I just sat down and I was like, oh dang, today is not a good day for chapel for me. But, you know, they would help you like kind of pinpoint what your negative thoughts would be about, you know, uncomfortable situations. And then through that, you could see like a perspective of how irrational it is to think that way. Because that's more than likely not true. I don't think all eyes were on me during chapel. Like, that's goofy. So like, I realized through like, you know, after worship and everything, like, I started telling myself like, okay, Lauren, you need to chill out. Like, don't have that much coffee next time, you'll be good. But like, basically it shows you like, you kind of talk yourself through like your issue. If you realize like later on, if you talk to somebody, you could have like, and through them telling you, hey, it's not really like that. That's really irrational that you thought that. It's like our self-esteem, especially as girls. Like, we think about different things than guys would, and the guys think about their performance, and it's like, okay, we need to like take it back a step and realize like through that negativity, like what's realistic, and the realistic thing is positive self-talk. So that kind of gets you in a different mindset. And so, if you guys have your books today, I would really appreciate it if you guys turn to 449 and do exercise 1.7 together. So like you guys can choose your groups and we'll discuss it after you guys have answered all the questions.
Do we have to write it down or should we just talk?
No, you guys can just talk about it. So. It's big.
Does everybody have a book?
Or we have the PowerPoint. So there you go. And if you don't have your book, like I have one, and I can just read out the questions as well. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you say 449?
Yep. Yeah, it's exercise 1.7. And there's questions. I like
Yeah. So here we go.
We just maybe should do I'd say maybe impulse control, lack of self-control, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's two more questions. I don't know. This one should
effects of what actually happened, you know, over, like, yeah, I don't overlook it. I try to think of things positively.
Hey guys, just do the first three, because you guys don't have to do all of them. But. Do you guys have somewhat answers right now, or do you guys need a little bit more time? You guys are good? Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go around the room and ask like all your different opinions on these questions. So whoever wants to start is cool. Libby, what were your thoughts on like question 1?
Well, we decided that like insecurity, like feeling insecure about it. I mean, it depends on what. It's different for everyone, but we just have the insecurity and the thing first.
Yeah. That's true. What did you guys think about the second question? About your dysfunctional behaviors?
Were you saying like the causes of it again with kind of insecurities and you thinking like irrational kind of thoughts, kind of like how you were saying you think everyone's looking at you, but in reality it's really not, but you just that's what it kind of focus on.
Yeah, it's so sad that we're so self-aware, like sometimes when we shouldn't be, you know, we should be in the moment. Like,
Yeah.
I should have been in worship instead of high on
You can't help
coffee.
it. Yeah, but you're not.
I know.
But
Yeah.
I mean, like you can't help it.
It's true.
just kind of
Yeah.
dragging you in.
Okay, let's see, I'm just gonna pick on people because I wanna hear a bit. Okay, Roberto. Hey. Hey, buddy. Okay. What do you think about question 3? How do you think it could be changed?
I don't know, like doing like some like fun stuff to try to like stay away from nothing, you know, just be relaxed, things like that. So refresh. Positive psychology.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Kim, what do you think about the second one? I just want to hear different thoughts, if you have any.
Pretty much the same thing I said.
Self-esteem issues?
Yeah,
or
it's just like,
or like irrational thoughts and stuff. Anybody else have any different answers or like different thoughts on anything? Alright. Well, I agree with all of what you guys have said. Thank you for participating. And I have a Bible verse. Hold on, here. Hold on. Okay. So the Bible verse I picked was Hebrews 4:12. For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing souls and spirit, and joints, and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. So basically, like, I chose that because it's saying like the word of God should be what I need to be content in, and not thinking of worldly stresses and like having faith that his love and his word can get me through any like negative thoughts that I think so surface level about, you know, that I let take over my thought process for the day, because that can really affect your mood for the rest of the day. So since I have faith, you know, it definitely helps me out. I think I'm going to turn it over to Emily right now.
Okay, we're almost done. Okay, so this is what you guys learned today. I don't know if you were paying attention, but the founder of rational therapy is Albert Ellis. Rational therapy asserts that unwanted emotions and dysfunctional behavior are primarily determined by our thoughts process rather than by external events. Rational therapy is a cognitive behavioral approach to therapy, and the theory asserts that there are 3 constructive ways to changing unwanted emotions. Okay. And now we're going to do another exercise. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put you in groups. You 4 are a group. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And you might want to go ahead and move. Okay, what we're kind of going to be doing here is talking about dysfunctional behaviors, and we're going to kind of look into certain ones, and we're going to talk about their what they're thinking. So, rational therapy asserts that thinking process primarily determine behavior. What we talked about earlier, this approach maintains that the reason for unusual or dysfunctional behavior can always be identified by determining what the perpetrator was thinking prior and during the time of the act. Okay, now I'm going to give, you guys are going to be spouse abusers, and you guys are going to be bulimic, and you guys are going to be compulsive gamblers. So now that you have your perpetrator, I want you guys in your groups to kind of think about what that person that committed that dysfunctional behavior, what they were thinking during the act, and what they were thinking before they engaged in the dysfunctional behavior. And go.
Go.
So what thoughts do you say? Why would I want
Maybe they were
Well, then probably just rational thoughts, like wanting to blame someone for your other problems. You don't want to blame yourself. That's the person who's there. You need to take it out.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Probably like treating them like how they were treated. Yeah, or they saw the experience too. Maybe they feel that's how it's supposed to be. Never saw a good family. Or not good family, you know, maybe one.
like that's all they know, right?
Yeah, that did not come out.
Okay, what did you guys come up with for spouse abusers?
Okay, we talked about sometimes it can start because that's what they knew when they were younger, like they saw their parents do it, or it happened to them, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you start thinking like about all the things that are going wrong, all the problems you're having, and you kind of need somebody to blame for it, and they're the person who's there.
There you go, that's good. Okay, what about you guys? Bulimics back there.
We said that it probably first starts out with not a good self-image, so then they start throwing up to try to get to their ideal image, and then also has to deal with having control. Like if they don't really have control for certain things, they really have control over what they do with their own body. And then eventually, if it gets bad enough, it just starts becoming habit. Like you start throwing up, and it's just the body always throws up, and you still don't have that ideal body image. And you're just bones and skin. And then your teeth start getting ugly, so then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm ugly. And then just goes down.
There you go. What about you guys? Gambler.
We talked about how the thoughts that would lead to it was just, thinking about how much money you can make off of going to the casino or that next bet. And then while you're engaging in it, you're just banking on that next win. I'll make it up when I win this one next week.
Psychologists have actually, we talked about this the other day, psychologists have actually found that you get people that gamble get like a consecutive high. Like there's no like meth where you have a low point and then you get back up. When you're gambling, it's like a high all the way across the board. So it's kind of interesting. Okay. So now I want you guys, now that you've thought about the thinking and everything, think about some of the interventions and ways to disrupt that dysfunctional behavior. And then you have a couple examples on there. If you can't think of any.
Somewhere safe for them.
Yeah, I think definitely counseling, like a mediation, because otherwise you're just getting.
We want everybody to go there. That kind of sounds bad. We don't want everyone to have to go there, but we think it works. That's yeah.
Okay, abusers, what'd you find?
Anything, anger management, maybe?
Anger management and
We were also talking about like marriage counseling, so it's somewhere safe that
Yeah.
the other person can go and like express their feelings against the abuser.
perpetrator, yeah. There you go. Bulimics.
We decided that one way that we've seen people deal with self-image and like, is having them explain to an artist what they think they look like, and then have an artist paint what they actually look like, and so like, this is what you think you look like, but this is what you actually look like, and it's completely.
That's interesting. Okay, gamblers.
We said like group therapy so they could like talk to other gamblers and
There you go. Okay, well, now we're kind of at the end here, but I just want you guys to know that these people, yeah, we're at the end, but
That's your baby
people
picture.
that do these dysfunctional behaviors, like we said, it all leads up to self-talk, so you have to be positive and don't feed yourself negative things. So, there we go, we're at the end. Yay!
You have any questions? You need to give them something, take a piece of paper and write down something you appreciate about it.
All of us are a group.
From your group, do it from your groups you're in. That would work. What presentation? Oh, well, you got an hour.